Code monkey get up, get coffee. Code monkey go to job. Code monkey have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say code monkey very diligent, but his output stink. His code not functional or elegant. What do code monkey think? Code monkey think maybe manager wanna write login page himself. Code monkey not say it out loud. Code monkey not crazy, just proud. Code monkey like Fritos. Code monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code monkey very simple man. Big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code monkey like you. Code monkey like you.
What's new, Dino Dudes? It's me, the Media Raptor, and welcome back to the final installment of the Reaction and Review with the Media Raptor. Okay, not the last one, I'll be doing plenty of these afterwards, but the last installment of this trilogy, sort of. Pretty obviously, we're going to review Pokemon 3 tonight, so we're going to have to watch it, then we'll talk about it. This is the one I'm actually the most excited about. Once again, I knew nothing about this movie up until when I picked up this VHS like a few days ago. Thing is though, when it comes to the legendary Pokemon, Entei is one of my favorites due to how he looks. I think if I had to list off my favorite legendary Pokemon, there would be Dialga, Entei, Rayquaza, and Groudon. Which is weird considering the fact that I'm a grass trainer, or at least I was, but we don't really have many grass legendaries, which greatly annoys me. But Entei has always been such a cool design because he always kind of reminded me of a mixture, well, looking at him now, he reminds me of a mixture of, well, a dragon mixed with what, this might seem weird, a Chinese lucky cat in a way, or a Chinese cat, then also mixed with a Saint Bernard. I know that sounds crazy, but I just think his design is cool. And reading the back of the VHS case here, this really does seem like it has the best plot out of the three. As it currently stands, 2000 was pretty good, was very entertaining. Number 1, the first movie, was just sort of meh. But I do hope Pokemon the Movie 3 is by far the best of them because it seems like we have a recurring pattern of these movies getting better. Furthermore, there is a 3-pack Blu-ray I could get for like 20 bucks or something of the 3 movies. If this is a good movie, if I do genuinely enjoy it, I will probably pick it up at some point. If not, I'll probably just stick with the VHS tapes and not watch them for a good long while. Once again, I have never seen this movie. That should be kind of obvious because I'm doing it for R&R. So I'm going into this with no childhood attachments to it aside from a liking of Entei, who appears to actually be the villain in this, as well as the unknown Pokemon showing up, which, admittedly, I always thought were really cool. Just as from a design standpoint, I thought Pokemon and the shape of letters was both kind of weird, but also kind of interesting. Yes, also this will be the last one for a while where I have this blanket up in the background. Anyhow, Dino Dudes, let's just hope for the best, so only one way to find out if this will be any good. Let's kick back, relax, and watch Pokemon the Movie 3. Hang on, is that what's... No, it's Pokemon 3 the Movie. That is gonna really bug me because it looks like you can spell it either way. Okay, so this movie's off to a fantastic start. Like, I'm not even lying, this is an amazing start. But something is really distracting me. The unknown in this movie, for some reason, are CG in a 2D animated movie. It's very, very noticeable. When nothing else so far has been CG, it's it's weird, because they're constantly moving around in a circle, and they really do stick out. So, it's just, I don't know, it's very distracting for what so far has been a really good intro. This is gonna be really depressing if it's going the way I think it is. Wow, okay, this actually might be one of the most depressing things I've ever seen. if this ends the way I think it has to end, this honestly could be, like, unbelievably depressing. I don't even know really what to say at this point. Like, I just feel so bad for this kid. Okay, so maybe this is something that they changed in later, like, incarnations of Pokemon and different shows and stuff, but I don't remember Pokemon essentially being taken out in a fight in one shot. Granted, this is sort of like a filler point in the movie, I'm pretty sure, so it doesn't bother me all that much, but it is kind of weird how these Pokemon are just getting, like, one shot, like, constantly. Maybe it's because, like, they're magical or something because of this whole dream world thing, which is actually a pretty cool idea. I'm actually thinking this is a pretty interesting film so far, but overall, like, maybe it's just a thing that was brought up later on, but these Pokemon, unless you had, like, a level of, like, 99 Pokemon and you were in, like, Pallet Town or something, I'm pretty sure they didn't die in one shot. Called it emotionally crushing moment. That was actually pretty emotional. Like, compared to the previous two, that was just depressing. And it's a really interesting plot point they're building on right now. I think this is actually a really interesting idea is what they're trying to building towards with this idea of the character of Molly. You really do feel bad for her, but everything she does just makes sense. And it just hurts. Partially due to the animation, I have to say, but this almost hurts to watch. How is there still half an hour left? So this movie I think is about over. Unless, I don't know, maybe they counted that short beforehand as part of it? Yeah, okay, I'll be real, I'm confused, unless they actually did count the short beforehand as, you know, like part of the whole runtime, which they might have, making this only an hour long. I'm a little confused. Regardless, that was a really good ending. Well, it was a really good fight, a really good way to, what I believe was culminate in the climax.
I was created to be the father who could make you happy.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused and a bit surprised. I was entertained greatly. I'm not getting ready for the review. I'm just confused as to if there's going to be more or not. But if this is where it ends, it'd be pretty satisfying as an ending. Well, that was Pokemon 3, the movie, and that was just really good. That was just a good movie. Let me just grab the tape out and then I'll talk about it. So I've seen all of them now. There's like something like 10 more Pokemon movies I haven't seen, but I've seen the original 3. And out of the original 3, what did I think of them all? Well, to be honest, the best one by far was, oh, this lighting's really bad again. The best of them by far, Pokemon 3. Second best, Pokemon 2000, and kind of the worst was Pokemon the first movie. So what did Pokemon 3 do so well that the others didn't? Well, entirely, it was exactly what a Pokemon movie should be. There was plenty of Pokemon fights, like legitimate trainer battles, some really good comedy, a really interesting story, bringing in new characters, new Pokemon, and ultimately expanding the universe, and also a surprisingly emotional story. I'm gonna kind of spoil it because, well, this movie came out in 2001. It's an old movie, and if you're a fan of Pokemon, you've probably seen it by now. And I need to explain why this story worked so well. Now, again, I have to say this every time. These are kids' movies, so it's not like a world-changing story. In fact, very few kids' movies have like a world-changing plot to them. But Pokemon 3 had a surprisingly emotional one because it focuses on, well, we follow this small girl, as well as Ash and the others, named Molly, excuse me, who essentially in a very much like most kids' movies, loses her parents. And she ends up wishing that her dad would come back. Ultimately, though, through the power of the unknown and just essentially it's kind of some plot shenanigans that's never fully explained, Entei shows up and believes that, well, technically he's her dad, because that's what she wishes for. Therefore proving my theory that Entei is one of the best Pokemon, because he just straight up goes, oh, this little girl thinks I'm her dad? I'm her dad now. And just starts taking care of her. Then when she wishes for a mom, he ends up kidnapping Ash's mom. So that might seem, like a pretty simple story. Ash is trying to get his mom back. Entei is they need to stop Entei from, turning the whole world into crystal. But the thing is, what it really does well is the emotional moments. As expected, there was going to be a moment where Molly had to learn, yeah, I'm not your mom and Entei isn't your dad. What I wasn't expecting, and this partially has to do with the acting, is how well they were going to handle it. There was a very good build-up of showing her connecting with both Ash's mom, although she was hypnotized, and Entei really believing that they were her parents. And you might go, wait, how does this girl not know that a Pokemon isn't her dad? There actually is a good reason, by kids' movie standards. They do actually justify most of her beliefs to an extent. They are a little dumb, but as a kid, you probably wouldn't see issues with them. But they do actually give her enough character, give her enough screen time interacting with both Ash's mom and Entei, that the moments when she has to learn that they aren't her real parents are shockingly emotional. I didn't cry. I never cried in any of these, but I certainly did feel like I'd been hit in the gut by it. It just was it was quite sad. And I do like the idea that the unknown, which are known to be reality warping Pokemon, are essentially creating whatever her dreams are. That was an interesting plot point. And all this whole Crystal Palace and everything turning into crystal, and even Entei showing up, is all because of her dreams, her memories, and her thoughts. That's an interesting plot point. Now, granted, how the unknown work, where they came from, and how she even got control over them is kind of pushed to the side in favor of Pokemon training battles and some heartwarming family moments. And once again, if you're a kid, you're not going to question it too much, because if you play the games, unknown can warp reality. And they made that clear enough that we may not know exactly what these things are, but we do know they're powerful enough to literally distort the fabric of time and space, and create things out of thin air. So the plot works. The only real complaint I have with the characters, unlike the first movie, Ash has a bit of he gets hit with a stupid stick very briefly, but it's also quite justifiable. Because keep in mind, he saw his mom get kidnapped and he's trying to save her, and it's actually really good character for him of how much he cares about his mom and how far he's willing to go. But he straight up challenges Entei with a Togepi and a Ferrari? No, what is that? That water crocodile Pokemon that stands on its hind legs. I forget what it's called. It's gonna annoy me now, but I'm not looking it up. He challenges Entei, a Pokemon that is literally only ever been seen of, even only ever heard of in Legends, with two very basic starter Pokemon or two very basic low-level Pokemon. Now, granted, it does make sense why he'd do that, because, fueled by anger and desperation and a need to save his mom, maybe he wasn't thinking straight. But it was kind of a, dude, are you thinking straight right now? Moment for me. Furthermore, I mentioned this during the actual movie, the Pokemon really seem to go down easy in this movie. During a couple of the trainer fights, they get hit once and then they're out. Now, I do understand, these movies are 90 minutes long, except for 2000, which was actually an hour and 40 minutes long. I understand that for little kids, you don't want to have a 3-hour movie, and probably the reason why they didn't have longer fight scenes like they do in the TV show is because in the TV show, they have an entire season, up to 25 episodes to tell a story. Therefore, they can have 3 episodes based on one gym battle and make the whole episodes based around the fights. In a movie, it's hard to hit that balance of having multiple trainer battles that don't drag on and ultimately take away from the plot. So ultimately, it comes down to the kind of how do you want to look at it. You can either sit here and complain that, oh, well, the Pokemon go down way too easy. Or you can understand that it kind of had to be that way because there was no real easy way for them to make these battles, like work in the sense. I hope you understand what I'm saying. There was no way they could make these battles long enough to both be entertaining, but also not too long that it would take away from the rest of the movie. And unlike Pokemon the first movie, these two, at least especially Pokemon 3, really felt like a movie. It didn't just feel like, hey, here's a few episodes, what could be like a 3-parter episode made into a movie. Pokemon 3 really felt like they were going, what's a full-length film we could do? What kind of story could we tell with this time? Now granted, the story still does have some holes. There are still the dialogue is pretty 2000s, but at the same time, it is what it is. It's Pokemon. It was never known for having the greatest dialogue ever. Like I said, Ash does make some stupid choices, but what is good here is very interesting. I really like the ideas of the unknown essentially taking from a young girl's dreams. And the sad emotional truth of her getting so drawn into what she believes is her family that she doesn't want to accept the fact that her parents are gone, or at least one of them is, spoiler alert, her dad is okay in the end. Thankfully, I think that would have just been a really depressing ending if it turned out, hey, your dad's still dead though. Everything's great, but your dad's gone and Entei's gone and you have no one left. Welcome to the world of superheroes. Yeah, so I don't think they would be able to do that and still get away with like this being for little kids. So, it's a good plot. The most entertaining out of the three. In fact, this was the best out of the three so far. And it's just really well done. The writing, well, there isn't as much humor as the second one, or at least not as much funny humor as the second one. I don't know why, but Team Rocket really has a weird habit of breaking the fourth wall in these movies. And when they do break the fourth wall in this, it is pretty funny. However, unlike the last movie, it really feels like they were just kind of here because fans would expect them to be here. And granted, they don't have much screen time, so it's not like they're wasting time or anything. They have like maybe 6 minutes in total. No, not even that, like 4 minutes in total, maybe, of actual screen time. So they don't exactly waste too much, but it does feel like they were underutilized. But at the same time, this isn't really a plot that calls for every character to be brought together like with Endgame, for example. Which, don't worry, I'll review that soon. Unless that review's already up before these videos come out. I'm filming this before I film the review for Endgame because, well, these take longer to film. Just let me have this, okay? So the writing, it's a great kids movie. And looking at it, if it wasn't a kids movie, it would still be entertaining. It would still be good. I can watch this as somebody who has no nostalgic connection to it and say, I greatly enjoyed this. Would I watch it again? Yes. This is the one I would actually come out and say, yeah, I'd watch this again. Not right away, probably not even until like maybe next year, but I would watch this again. Same with 2000. I'm far more likely to watch the third one again. But yeah, it was a good movie. Part of that is helped by the acting. Part of what makes, I kid you not, the emotional scenes really work is the girl who plays Molly is a really good voice actress. I'm going to actually look up who played her real quick while I talk about what made it work so well. The main thing that made her work so well is she's supposed to be like a 6-year-old, 5 or 6-year-old at most. So she is very much a small child. Not only did the voice actress they got to play her, sound like a small child, but it isn't an annoying small child, and more than that, it actually is a child who can actually emote, who can pull off these emotional moments and work with it. Hang on. She actually is the actress who played Molly, her name is Amy Burnham? I'm just checking, I think I know that from somewhere. Oh, what do you know? She played, she's Tei from, Yu-Gi-Oh! And the one thing I would know her from is she's Charmy Bee in a lot of Sonic. Was not expecting that. That's cool, actually, I'm cool with it. That's kind of funny, I was not expecting that. Regardless, she does a great job in this movie because she's able to pull off the emotion of a child so well. Part of that is helped with the animation. Once again, this is a step up in animation from the previous movie, now giving us much bigger and clearer character designs, as I will be honest, not sure if I mentioned this last time, Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos, and even Lugia to an extent, don't look that great. They look good. Like, it's clear these are legendary Pokemon, but they don't look as detailed as they could be. Now, granted, that maybe is because I grew up watching Diamond and Pearl, so I was used to seeing this much higher-end animation in Pokemon. But at least in Pokemon 3, they made the animation much better. I did mention, though, the CG in it is really weird and really distracting. It is pretty dated CG, but it doesn't look bad. It's just very noticeable. I believe if I was a kid and I watched this, I probably wouldn't have noticed it, but I'm noticing it now, so I feel the need to bring it up. Don't worry, it's not a deal breaker, it's not even that bad, it actually looks decent for what it is. But everything else looks great. Like I said, I love the design of Entei, and they gave him a lot of detail. The crystallization of the home and the city and the valleys looks really cool. The crystals themselves have a very interesting color scheme to them that just makes them very nice to look at. What else? I'm just thinking like if I have any real complaints with the movie. Entei, admittedly, there is still a lot of like the choppy animation, but then again, it is Pokemon. Like it always did kind of have choppy animation, even till this day. But it's more stylized today than it was back then. Excuse me. My point still is, it's interesting to see how far it's come. The animation does look good. In fact, I'm surprised how good the animation looks. About almost 20 years later, how good this animation still seems when compared to, well, Pokemon today. This looks like theatrical animation, not just TV animation put on the big screen. So, yeah, the animation's really good, the voice acting is really good for what it is, the script, it's good for what it is, and it's entertaining on its own. The music, there's another rap song at the beginning, which, admittedly, it's bad rap, but it's also the fun kind of bad, like it's the cheesy kind of rap that, if you like 90s cheese, like all that, like, yeah, radical, cool stuff, you'll really enjoy it. If not, it's only like a 2-minute song, so you can just ignore it or fast forward. But overall, I really don't have as many complaints with it as I did with the previous two movies. So in the end, I can recommend Pokemon 3, the movie. I'm giving it 3 Raptor Claws out of 4. I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. To me, this is pretty much what a theatrical Pokemon film should be. I'm not actually sure if it was released theatrically, I have to check that later, but this is really what a theatrical Pokemon film, like I said, should be. It's got the action, the characters, the emotional bits, and while Pokemon 2000 did have a good story, good characters, it didn't have much fighting in it, you know? The fighting was much more contained to the legendaries all duking it out. This one had a balance of having to fight not only a legendary, but Pokemon trainer battles as well. While it didn't have stakes like this where the world could potentially be destroyed, this one had emotional stakes that really grabbed you and made it hard for you to walk away from. Not only is Entei just a great Pokemon in this because he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be your dad now, I guess. Molly is ridiculously cute. And this is coming from someone who doesn't always like kids in movies, who can easily get greatly annoyed by kids in movies, but no, not this one, sorry. The Pokemon 3 really got their child character great. They got it down and they made it work. So yeah, if you do have kids, I can highly recommend Pokemon 3. If you're a fan of Pokemon and you haven't seen it yet, check it out. I believe you will greatly enjoy it. Overall, can I recommend the entire Pokemon OG trilogy of the first movie, 2003? Yeah. Admittedly, the first movie isn't the best, in my opinion. But then again, I think it also has to do with the fact that it was very much a building block. With it, we were given Pokemon 2000, which was an improvement, still had plenty of issues, but was still quite good. But because of that, ultimately we got Pokemon 3, which was just a very good movie in almost every category. Sure, it's pretty predictable, and it's not the most emotionally investing movie. You will get emotionally invested in the characters, but it won't be like, if something bad happens, you won't break down in tears over it, like I think they tried to with the first movie. But, no wait, sorry, the first movie. But I can still recommend them. If you got kids who love Pokemon, these are harmless and they're great distractions. If you're a fan of Pokemon but you haven't seen these movies, I can recommend watching them all at least once. As for a recommendation on buying the Blu-ray 3-pack, If you're a fan of Pokemon and you love these movies but you don't own them yet, go right ahead and buy it. It's the perfect thing for you. If you haven't seen these movies but you like Pokemon, if you can find it for like $25 to $30 at most, go ahead. The stores I've seen it are trying to sell it for $35 to $40 and $55 for a steelbook. It is not worth that much. If you can find it for like $20 to $30 at most, it is worth it. Pokemon 2 and 3 are great. Pokemon 1 is just okay, but really Pokemon the movie 3 is worth it all on its own. And I know you can buy them separately, but I also know people like buying a 3-pack because that way they just get them all at once and don't have to pay for 3 separate DVDs or Blu-rays. So ultimately, if I can find the 3-pack at a good price, I probably will pick it up because I did have fun watching these. Now, these movies did not restart some like big love of Pokemon for me. I'm not gonna rush out, buy a bunch of trading cards, like buy a DS and a Game Boy and buy all the old games or anything, and I wasn't expecting these two. I was just hoping they would be entertaining. And at the end of the day, they were entertaining. That to me is all I wanted. If you want to know why I'm just hoping they were entertaining, these were not movies meant to tell stories. Let's be real here, these were movies meant to sell cards and toys. That isn't an issue. Look at the Lego movie. Look at the Transformers movie, the animated one. I did a review on it a while ago. I absolutely loved it. You can make a movie based on a property that is entirely designed to sell toys or merchandising, and you can still do it well. Pokemon 3 showed us you can do a really good movie, or at least a very entertaining one at that. So, I don't think... these movies, I wasn't expecting them to be like the greatest thing ever, where you must watch them if you haven't seen them, and I must go out and get all Pokemon stuff now. I wasn't expecting that. And really, that's not what these were for. These were meant to be made for fans of Pokemon to enjoy. And if you are a fan of Pokemon, these movies will be right up your alley. As someone who hasn't been a fan of Pokemon in a while, I still got enjoyment out of them. So you know what? That's good enough for me. Let's just hope Detective Pikachu is a really good movie, because that one is one I'm genuinely excited for because, well, Ryan Reynolds, and because it seems like it's kind of going in a different direction than all these Pokemon movies. But I'll have to talk about that when I get around to watching it, when it comes out in theaters soon. So, with all that done, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, because it just helps this channel grow and it lets me know I'm doing something right around here. If you want to talk about movies, comment down below. What was your favorite Pokemon movie? Am I missing any of the Pokemon films? Should I review more? If so, which one should I review? Let me know down below, and if enough people ask for them, I'll get around to doing more of them. Anyhow, with that being said, until next time, this has been the Media Raptor saying keep cool, and I will see all you dino dudes around. Later. My dog is snoring in a crate. It's the cutest thing ever.